What if I told you that wealth isn't about luck, timing, or even how smart you are? It's about how you think, and most people are thinking broke. Welcome to a journey that most will never take, the 7 hidden wealth habits of truly successful people. This isn't motivation. This is a blueprint, a war plan, a complete rewiring of how winners think, act, and live. Habit of repositioning thinking. The poor chase money. The rich attract money. Have you ever wondered why there are people who, just by walking into a room, attract opportunities and money automatically flows toward them, while others spend their whole lives struggling against the wind, working endlessly but never improving? The harsh truth is, it's not because they are better than you. It's not because they are luckier than you. It's not because they come from a better background than you. It's because they think completely differently from you. The issue isn't about money, but about the way you think about money. Most poor people believe that money is something they have to chase. They live every day with the belief that money exists outside of themselves, that as long as they work harder, save more carefully, and push themselves harder, they will get money. But it's this very mindset that keeps them poor, not because they are lazy, but because they are playing the wrong game. And the first rule is, money does not flow toward those who chase after it. Money only flows toward those who know how to attract it. The rich don't earn money. They design cash flow. They don't work for money. They make money work for them. They don't sacrifice their time for money. They use their time to create systems that attract money. And above all, they don't define themselves by their bank balance, but by their ability to create value endlessly. Poor people think, how can I have more money to spend? Rich people think, how can every dollar I create keep generating more dollars? The core difference in this mindset is, one side looks for survival, the other builds wealth. And you can't get to where the rich are standing if you are still using the poor person's map. Poor people live in a world of scarcity. They see money as finite. Every time they spend, they feel guilty. They think they have to save every penny. They stash money under their pillows, put it in savings accounts, and hope it will miraculously grow. But money doesn't grow in fear. Money grows in circulation, movement, and value creation. Every time you hold on to money just because you're afraid of losing it, you are telling money, I don't trust you. And money hates being imprisoned. Meanwhile, the rich understand that money is just a tool, not a savior. They don't love money. They control money. And to control money, you first have to master your own thinking. If you think like an employee, you'll only earn like an employee. If you think like a value creator, you'll be rewarded like a builder. Look at history. The richest people in the world are not the most skilled in their profession. They are the ones with the most different way of thinking. Steve Jobs was not an engineer. Elon Musk is not a car expert. Warren Buffett didn't study investing in depth from the start, but they have one thing in common. They all understand that wealth does not lie in skill, but in mindset. The issue is, from a young age, we are taught to work, not to create value. We are rewarded for obedience, not for creativity. We are encouraged to look for jobs, not to create them. And so, an entire generation grows up thinking, I have to work hard to deserve money. But what nobody tells you is, working hard doesn't make you rich. Creating value, that's what makes you rich. A poor mindset makes you confuse being busy with being effective. You think you're doing a lot, but in reality, you're running on a treadmill. Every day repeats, but you go nowhere. Meanwhile, the rich, they choose the task with the highest leverage. They put their time where it can create 10x, 100x value. They don't waste energy on just for the sake of it tasks. They soberly choose strategies, then let the system do the rest. A poor mindset teaches you money is the goal. But the rich know money is just the result. If you do everything just for money, you'll be controlled by the emotions of the market. You'll be afraid when you lose, excited when you win, and panic when you fail. But if you do everything for a mission, for value, for growth, then money will come as an inevitable result. The poor believe that only act when you're certain. The rich understand that it's action that creates certainty. That's why the poor keep preparing but never actually start. They read books, take courses, ask for advice, yet still sit still. Meanwhile, the rich begin and learn in the process of taking action. They don't need perfection, they need progress. Poor thinking teaches you to cut spending to get rich. But the rich understand that cutting expenses will never make you wealthy. Only increasing income can do that. Cutting expenses only makes you live smaller. Increasing income forces you to grow bigger. Poor thinking makes you fear failure. But the rich see failure as tuition. They're willing to lose money, as long as they get a valuable lesson in return. They don't look at the amount lost. They look at the pace of growth after every fall. And that's why they become stronger with every step and richer with every failure. You can't attract money if you're still afraid of it. If you still see money as dirty, evil, risky, only for the greedy, you'll unconsciously push it away. Money doesn't distinguish between good and bad. Money only goes where it is respected, used properly, and creates added value. If you don't redefine your relationship with money, you'll be ruled by it your whole life. If you don't rewrite your mindset, society, school, parents, the crowd will write it for you. And they don't write for you to be rich. They write for you to obey, to be docile, to accept your lot and just get by. Wealth doesn't begin with your wallet. Wealth begins when you refuse the old way of thinking. When you dare to face reality. Everything I ever believed about money could be wrong. And only then do you get the chance to rewrite it. Remember, the poor ask, how do I get money? The rich ask, how do I never have to worry about money again? The poor fear losing their jobs. The rich build systems for others to work for them. The poor think small, live small, spend small, wish small. The rich think big, live big, dare to lose big. And that's exactly why they gain big. You can't become rich if you keep poor thinking in your head. Just like you can't fly if you keep tying yourself down with fear, doubt, and resistance to change. There's no path to financial freedom without passing through a revolution in thinking. And no one can do that for you. So if you want to start your journey to becoming someone who attracts money, begin by removing your old beliefs. Start asking the big questions. What do I believe in? Where are those beliefs taking me? Is this mindset serving me or holding me back? Nothing changes until you change your way of thinking. And once your mindset changes, everything else will follow. Cash flow, opportunity, relationships, even luck, all begin to find you. Not because you're luckier, but because you become a magnet. Don't be someone who chases after money. Be the person that money has to seek out. Time management habits. Wealth comes to those who know how to cut off. In life, there is one thing that is absolutely fair: time. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. Poor people have 24 hours. Rich people also only have 24 hours. No one can buy more time. No one can store it for later use. How you use your 24 hours each day will determine your entire wealth or poverty. And the biggest difference doesn't lie in how many things you get done, but in how many things you cut out. Successful people don't do more than you. They just do things better. They don't stay busy all day to feel important. They clearly eliminate everything meaningless, valueless, and without a future. They treat time as their most precious asset, never allowing anyone else to spend it in their place. Meanwhile, poor people often give away their time as easily as they give away promises. They let others interrupt, bother, and delay them. They allow themselves to waste hours on meaningless entertainment, then complain about not having time to invest in self-development. They don't realize wealth is a skill of cutting off. The more things you say no to, the closer you get to what you should say yes to. Success doesn't come from doing a lot, but from daring to refuse at the right time. Because every time you choose one thing, you are giving up another. And most people choose the wrong things, so they stay poor. You might be very busy, but the question is, what are you busy with? With meaningless phone calls? With pointless coffee invites? With scrolling TikTok, replying to messages, playing the role of the nice person who can't say no? Each day you lose precious hours to things that seem urgent but are totally unimportant. And then you wonder why you never get ahead. The rich understand a simple truth. Time can't be managed. It can only be selected. You can't manage time. You can only choose what deserves your investment of time. Every morning, they don't start with a to-do list. They start with a list of what needs to be eliminated. They ask, what is the most important thing today? What, if done, will make 80% of the other tasks unnecessary? And then they pour all their energy into that. Meanwhile, poor people try to do everything and end up accomplishing nothing substantial. They're stuck in multitasking. They are constantly distracted. They think they're doing a lot, but in reality, they're just burning themselves out little by little with countless trivial tasks. They're not lacking time. They're lacking clarity. I once asked a group of students, how many hours each day do you actually spend investing in things that create long-term value? No one could answer. They remembered where they met, what they ate, what tasks they handled, but had no idea what progress they made in their lives. That was when I knew they were drifting, not truly living. And someone who drifts never reaches their destination. The rich set extremely high standards for their use of time. They don't compromise with meaningless things. They defend their time like a warrior guards a border. If something doesn't bring them closer to their goal, they skip it without guilt, not because they are ruthless, but because they understand. Every time you say yes to a small thing, you are saying no to a big dream. I'm not saying you have to work like a robot, but you need to learn how to cut off distractions. People who don't know how to cut off are those who are stuck in a cycle. Busy, tired, bored, procrastinate, and then busy again. They think they need motivation, but actually what they need is the alertness to clear the pile of junk taking up space in their schedule. Try looking at your phone. How many apps do you not touch? How many hours have you spent on meaningless videos? How many messages do you answer just out of politeness? How many relationships do you maintain just because you're afraid to cut them off? Each of these is secretly stealing your most precious resource, focus. And here's something no one tells you. Focus is the door to wealth. When you're focused enough, you'll do in 2 hours what others do in 2 days. When you're focused enough, you start to see patterns, systems, principle, and you use it to create leverage. When you are focused enough, you begin building assets instead of just making a living. The truth is, not everyone is poor because of a lack of opportunity. They are poor because they are not focused enough to recognize opportunity. Opportunity does not appear to someone who is busy with 10 things at once. Opportunity only appears to those who are calm enough, clear enough, ruthless enough at cutting away to spot what is gold among the garbage. And here's the paradox. The less you do, the easier it is to get rich. Poor people fear an empty schedule. Rich people fear a schedule that's too full. Poor people think, the more I do, the better the results. Rich people know, the fewer right things I do, the bigger the results. And it's this difference in logic that is the deeper cause behind decades of financial disparity. You cannot get rich if your schedule is a war zone. You cannot get rich if you keep trying to please everyone. You cannot get rich if you don't dare to say no. Wealth starts from ruthless selection. Choose who you go with. Choose what you invest in. Choose the moment you say yes. And most of all, choose to ruthlessly cut out everything that won't take you where you want to be. If you want to be rich, you don't need to do 10 more new things. You need to quit 10 old things. And that's what rich people do every day. I once met a man in his 40s, intelligent, ambitious, who had been a senior manager at a big company. But when we sat down to talk, he sighed. I don't understand why I'm still not wealthy, even though I've been busy for 20 years. I only asked one question. Have you ever sat down and listed the things that, if you stopped doing, your life would move forward faster? He was silent. And that's when I knew. For 20 years, he hadn't lived. He'd only reacted. Poor people don't manage their time. They live in a reactive state. When a call comes in, they answer. An email arrives, they read it. Someone needs them. They're ready to drop their plans to help. It sounds noble, but the truth is, they don't control their schedule. And whoever can't control their time can't control their finances either. Because wealth doesn't come to those who are just good people doing good things. It comes to those with strategy and discipline in every minute of life. You don't have to reject everything, but you must know what to prioritize. Successful people live by the 80-20 principle. They know that 20% of the right time creates 80% of the results. They don't do everything. They choose the one thing that matters and do it to the core. One highly focused morning can help you solve 10 big things. But if you let distractions in, if you check messages, listen to music, chat, keep switching tabs, you're not only wasting time but also the depth of your intellect. And no one builds a great career from shallowness. Time is not just about the number of hours. It's about your level of presence in each moment. Poor people live a whole day, but their minds are pulled in 10 different directions. Rich people live 1 hour but pour all their mental energy into it and create outstanding value. Poor people postpone the most important things. They keep putting off big tasks for small chores. They clean the house to avoid writing a plan. They watch movies to avoid starting a project. They research more to avoid taking action. That's not lack of time. It's fear in disguise. They fear change. They fear failure. They fear the helplessness of realizing they're not as good as they thought. And they use busyness to run away from themselves. Rich people are the opposite. They start with the hardest thing. They know whatever is put off the most is what most needs to be done. They don't wait until they're free to do what's important. They organize their lives around that. And when they act, they don't look for excuses. They look for ways. They shave off every drifting second to trade for proactivity in the future. Don't think you need more time. You don't need anything extra. You have enough, but you need to rearrange. And to do that, you need to cut things out. Cut out what doesn't produce results. Cut out people who aren't on the same journey. Cut out habits that kill your focus. Cut out the obsession with having to do a lot to prove something, because no one needs you to be busy. Only you need results. A simple habit I practice every day. In the morning, before I start, I write down one thing. What is today's most important task? And I block out my entire schedule for that. No one gets in, no messages, no calls, no compromises. When I finish that task, the rest of the day becomes a reward. But if I skip it, that day is considered wasted. You can do the same. But first, you have to dare to ask the big question. If I only had 1 hour a day to work, what would I use it for? That answer is your direction. The rest are things that can be cut. You can't have an extraordinary life if you keep clinging to an ordinary schedule. You can't create outstanding value if your day is broken up by 100 unimportant tasks. And you can't be wealthy if you don't learn to protect your time as a vital asset. The biggest limit is not outside. It's in that you don't dare to say no to the old things, so you can say yes to the new ones. You're afraid of being disliked, getting left behind, being misunderstood. But remember, successful people don't live to please others. They live to serve a mission. and they carefully choose every bit of time to pursue it. Look directly at your schedule today. How many tasks really move you forward? How many are just there to fill space, making you feel busy, but not bringing any benefit? How many hours are you trading for procrastination, hesitation, wavering? The answer is right in front of you. But to see it, you have to dare to cut. Don't keep living as if you have unlimited time. Don't use your time like a kid spending lucky money, throwing it around without counting. Use it like an investor uses capital, smartly, cautiously, and strategically. Starting today, do one thing. Cross off your schedule everything that doesn't take you where you want to go. Whether it's people, tasks, calls, apps, or habits. Cut them. No hesitation. Don't wait for the right moment. Don't ask anyone's permission. Because only when you dare to cut will there be room for wealth to come to you. That is the second habit of successful people. They don't organize time. They design time. They don't race against time. They make time work for them. And they never let anyone, except themselves, decide how their day will be used. Money habits. The rich buy value, not what they want. There is a major paradox about money. The poor, though always lacking money, spend the most on things that create no value. The rich, despite having plenty, are extremely clear-headed about every cent they spend. The poor use money to satisfy emotions. The rich use money as a strategic lever. That's why the more the poor spend, the poorer they get, while the more the rich spend, the richer they become. The question is not how much money you have. The question is, how are you using the money you have? Money is a tool. It does not know right from wrong, but the way you use it reflects your mindset. And if you're still using money like a child who's just received lucky money for the first time, you'll never be able to keep it for long. The poor spend money emotionally. Feeling sad today, they eat to feel better. Feeling happy today, they reward themselves. Payday, they buy something new to feel worthy. They spend to be recognized, to be comforted, to fill their emotional void. But the truth is, money does not fix emotional problems. It only temporarily masks them and then leaves lasting consequences. The rich are different. They do not use money to prove anything. They don't spend to show off. They don't buy what they want. They only buy what creates value. They understand that every dollar is a seed. Planted in the right place, it will multiply. Planted in the wrong place, it will disappear forever. Let's look at this example. Two people have 1,000 USD in their accounts. One buys a new phone because everyone else has the latest model. The other invests in a skills course or buys a tool to improve work efficiency. Both spend 1,000 USD, but in 6 months, the results will be worlds apart. The first person will keep chasing the next upgrade, then complain, "My salary is never enough to live on." The second may double their income or unlock a new business opportunity. Not because they are better, but because they understand that spending is a strategic decision, not an emotional one. The poor see a sale sign. They think, opportunity. The rich see a sale sign. They ask themselves, do I really need this, or am I being manipulated by marketing? The poor hear installment payment. They feel relieved. The rich hear installment payment. They hear a loss of freedom. For the rich, financial freedom doesn't come from having a lot of money, but from not letting money control them. They don't live paycheck to paycheck. They don't rely on consumer loans. They don't let money dictate their mood. They are alert, calm, and have a clear strategy. Money can be your friend, or it can betray you. If you use it to serve long-term goals, it will be loyal. But if you use it to satisfy lack of self-control, it will turn around and rule you. And once you lose control over your finances, you also lose your right to shape your life. There's a common misconception. Poor people think only the rich need to learn how to use money. But the truth is, Knowing how to use money is what leads to wealth in the first place. No one naturally gets rich and then learns management. They're rich because they learn to see money as a tool, not a reward. The rich make a very clear distinction: want, need, worthiness. What you want is not always what you need. And what you need may not be worth buying. They don't say, "I want this." They ask, "Does this bring me closer to my financial goal?" If not, no matter how cheap, attractive, or trendy, it gets skipped. The poor are the opposite. They spend money to relieve stress, to feel like they have something, to live for today and deal with tomorrow later. But living like this, you'll never break through, because you're using money to patch emotional holes instead of investing to build a financial foundation. You can check this very easily. Just review the last 3 things you bought. Did they serve short-term emotions or help you improve your skills, health, systems, or productivity? If all 3 were emotional purchases, then you are building a poor future. The rich do not spend money to be liked. They don't need to prove anything. They use money to buy back time. They hire people to do the tasks they don't need to handle themselves. They buy automation software. They invest in books, courses, and high-value communities. They understand every dollar should work, not just play. Money is not made for you to vent your emotions. It is made to serve a purpose. If you use money as a sedative, you'll get addicted to the feeling of spending, and then you'll fall into the cycle. Spend, regret, lack, spend again, regret again. The rich buy assets, not liabilities. They buy things that generate income, not things that only generate feelings. A rental house creates money. A house to show off only creates cost pressure. Software that helps you work faster creates time. A pair of branded shoes only creates an illusion of status. No one stops you from enjoying life. But enjoyment should be a reward, not a default lifestyle. When you are in the building phase, every dollar you spend should have a purpose. Don't spend as if you've already crossed the finish line. Spend like someone climbing a mountain. Pack light, choose carefully, and consider every step. The poor often get stuck in the saying, "You only live once." But the rich understand. Precisely because you only live once, you shouldn't squander, because you don't get a second chance to start over. And every wrong financial decision today will be a price you pay in the next 10 years. You don't need to be rich to start managing money. But you have to manage money to begin to get rich. An unchanging principle that the rich follow is money must have a purpose. Not a single dollar is spent without knowing what it serves. If an expense doesn't help them get closer to their goals, that item will be eliminated mercilessly. The rich don't look at their account balance as how much is left to spend. They see it as an army. And every soldier must have discipline, a role, and a clear purpose. They categorize their cash flow into 4 directions: investment, protection, growth, and reward. And that order is never reversed. The poor, however, are different. They use money to reward themselves first, then think about saving or investing. They buy what they want to feel good, but that feeling lasts only a few hours while the consequences last for months. There is a most dangerous kind of poverty, hidden poverty. People who seem stable on the outside have stable, even high incomes, but spend everything they earn. Income rises, spending rises just as fast. They call it upgrading their life, but in reality, they're wearing a coat that's bigger than their finances. They live up to others' standards and strain themselves to maintain it. And eventually, they burn out. Not because they can't make money, but because they can't control themselves. The rich are the opposite. When their income increases, they don't rush to spend more. They invest more. They buy new knowledge, buy new shares, buy time from others, buy technology to accelerate, buy the right connections. They don't need anyone to see that they're rich. They just need their financial system to be stronger and stronger. They understand one principle the poor rarely think about. You are not allowed to buy anything if, after buying it, you no longer have enough money to invest in yourself. Because all material things depreciate, but if you invest in yourself properly, it will pay off forever. You can buy a designer suit, then it goes out of style. But if you use that money to learn a skill, expand your mindset, connect with talented people, you are building intangible assets. And it is those intangible assets that create tangible freedom. A financially smart person doesn't buy a car to stand out on the street. They only buy a car if that car helps them expand their mobility, meet people, close more deals, develop their work. If not, taking a taxi is also a reasonable solution. They don't need to assert themselves through a license plate. They assert themselves through the value they create. The poor often say, "I need a small reward to get motivated." The rich think, results are the only reward that truly matter. They don't need cake after a hard effort. They need new cash flow after every correct action. A truly wealthy entrepreneur once told me, "The most luxurious thing I've ever bought is control. I use money to control my schedule, control my work environment, control my mind from being distracted." It sounds simple, but this is the highest level of using money. Not for showing off, not for indulgence, but for freedom. Because freedom is the pinnacle of wealth. Not villas, supercars, or diamond watches. If you really want to be rich, you have to learn how to separate emotions from financial decisions. Every time you spend money just because you feel I deserve it, stop and ask yourself, does this help me become a better version of myself, or is it just a reward for the old version? If the answer is the old version, don't spend. Every time you're about to buy something, don't ask, do I have enough money? Instead, ask, do I have enough reasons? Money can always be earned back, but the time you lose from making wrong choices will never return. And if you want to live like the rich, start spending like the rich. Be alert, strategic, put value above emotion, put goals above instant gratification. Learn how to control your money, because if you don't, sooner or later money will control you. Don't wait until you have a lot of money to learn how to use it. Learn it now, starting from the smallest amount. Make it a habit to ask, what value does this expense create? If there's no clear answer, skip it. Learn to delay emotions, to trade for long-term freedom. From today, every time you pull out your wallet, pause for 5 seconds and ask, am I buying what I want or investing in the person I want to become? The poor buy with emotion, the rich buy with vision. Whom you choose to become depends on how you use your money starting now. Decision-making habits. The rich take action even when in doubt. Do you know what kills the most dreams? Not poverty, not failure, not lack of opportunity. What kills the most dreams is procrastination. It's that moment you know you should do something, but you say, I'll do it tomorrow. It's when you see an opportunity but wonder, am I ready yet? It's those times you prepare for so long and then never start. Poor people live in the lukewarm water of consideration. They overthink, compare for too long, hesitate too much. They're afraid of making mistakes, afraid of choosing wrong, afraid of being laughed at. And it's that very fear that keeps them from acting. With every day that passes, they lose a bit of confidence, a bit of opportunity, a bit of their future. They think they're being careful, but actually, they're slowly dying in their comfort zone. The rich are the opposite. They make decisions fast. Act first, adjust later. They don't need to feel 100% certain before starting. They understand. Waiting for certainty is an illusion. No one knows the outcome until they actually do it. No success ever came from prolonged hesitation. All of it comes from those who dare to act, even when there's still doubt inside. Action is what separates winners from the crowd. Most people who never improve are paralyzed by analysis. They need too much information before making a decision. They go from this video to that lesson, taking notes, reflecting, calculating, but not doing. And then opportunities pass by. They think they're preparing, but in truth, they're hiding. Hiding behind knowledge, hiding behind busyness, hiding behind clever excuses called not ready yet. The truth is, you will never really be ready. No one ever was truly ready. Do you think Elon Musk was ready to create SpaceX when he started? Do you think Steve Jobs was 100% sure when launching the first iPhone? They didn't know what was coming, but they started. And it was that very act of starting that led to the results the world recognizes today. You think not deciding is safe, but the truth is, not making a decision is itself a decision, and it is often the wrong one. Because it's a decision to stay put, a decision to postpone, a decision not to change. Poor people often get stuck in the thinking zone. They plan, revise, question, research, but they never start. They're afraid of the feeling of failure. But what's scarier is the feeling of watching others get rich, while you remain a spectator. The human mind has a survival mechanism. Every time facing change, the brain sends out warning signals. It's called cortisol, the stress hormone. It makes you anxious, doubtful, hesitant. It's instinct. But successful people don't live by instinct. They train. They exercise their decision-making muscle, like going to the gym for the brain. Each time they make a decisive move, however small, their willpower grows stronger. Every time you overcome the fear of action, you become stronger, more in control, and wealthier. I once asked a wealthy entrepreneur, "How did you know that decision was right when you started?" He laughed. "I didn't know. But I knew one thing for sure. If you don't do it, you get nothing. I'd rather do it and be wrong than stand still being right." And that's the principle of action that successful people live and die by. Being wrong is still one step closer to being right. But standing still is going backward. You need to understand this. Every time you delay a decision, you're teaching your brain that not acting is acceptable. And then you turn procrastination into a habit, a sweet but toxic habit. It kills urgency, kills motivation, and eventually kills your dreams. Decisions don't come from perfection. They come from priority. The rich know what's important, and they act first. The poor can't tell what's important from what's urgent, so they end up spinning their wheels on things that lead nowhere. Sometimes action is as simple as sending an email, making a call, knocking on a door, showing up, setting an appointment, signing up. Even a small action creates momentum, and momentum is what turns motivation into results. The rich build momentum. Poor people wait for inspiration. A wrong decision can still be saved, but a decision that is never made saves nothing at all. Poor people often ask, "What if I make a mistake?" Rich people ask, "If I don't do it, what will I miss out on?" They're not afraid of being wrong. They're afraid of missing out. They know opportunities don't last forever. Opportunity doesn't knock on the door of someone who doesn't dare to open it. And if you don't take action, someone else will. Look back at the people you've met. How many have talked about dreams they never started? How many said, "I will do it," but we're still in the same place a year later? The painful truth is, it's not that they lack opportunities. They lack the courage to decide. Successful people are not different from you because they're fearless. They're scared too. They worry too. They feel insecure too. But the difference is in the action. They act even when they're afraid. They act when they're not ready. They act when others are still in meetings. They act when others are still looking for advice. And it's that action that sets them apart from the crowd. You can't get to where you want by standing still. You can't get new results with old thinking. And you certainly can't master the game if you always wait until you're sure. The truth is, if you wait until you feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. Rich people understand that decision-making is a skill, not a gift. They practice it every day. They make quick decisions on small things, to build their decisiveness muscle for big things. They don't let themselves get paralyzed by information. They know making the right decision isn't as important as being able to fix mistakes quickly. They choose, take action, measure, adjust. Poor people, on the other hand, keep choosing, keep thinking, and then give up. I once coached a young person with a lot of potential. He had ideas, energy, and passion. But for 6 months, he didn't start because he lacked experience, hadn't finished learning, wasn't sure the market fit. In the end, someone else did his idea and succeeded. He hung his head in regret. If only I'd done it sooner. Don't let yourself end up in that position. Don't live in if only. Rich people live in I did. Poor people live in I'm thinking about it. And that's why they spend their whole lives thinking, but never having. From today, train yourself with these 3 principles. If you know what needs to be done, take action within the first 60 seconds. If you have 2 choices, choose the one that moves you toward your goal, even if it's harder. If you feel scared, all the more reason to act, because that's a sign you're on the edge of a breakthrough. Rich people don't wait until all doubts are gone to take action. They act to get through doubt. Become that kind of person, the one opportunities seek out, not because you're talented, but because you dare. The habit of self-discipline. Do it even without feelings. If you want to be rich, you don't need more motivation. You need more discipline. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays, working silently. Motivation gets you started. Only discipline helps you finish. And the naked truth is, most poor people act based on their emotions. They only act when they're in the mood, when they're happy, when it's convenient. But the rich, they act even when they're sad, tired, or not ready. Because they don't live by emotions. They live by commitment. Poor people always need inspiration to get to work. They wait for a beautiful day, a perfect circumstance, a moment of emotional uplift to start taking action. But they don't know that if you let your emotions take the lead, you'll get lost in the maze of procrastination and failure. You'll live a life full of dreams, but with no results. The rich understand this. Emotions are variables. Discipline is a constant. They don't ask, "Do I feel like doing this?" They ask, "Does this need to be done?" And if the answer is yes, they do it. Even when they're bored, scared, lazy, or hurt, they do it anyway. Because they know discipline is the only bridge between who you are now and who you want to become. I once met a young person who was smart, studious, and sharp in conversation. But when I asked, "Can you maintain discipline regularly?" they were silent. They studied based on inspiration, did things when it felt exciting, stopped when things got tough. And as a result, they kept circling back, starting many things, but never finishing anything. It's not that they lacked intelligence, they lacked backbone. And discipline is the backbone of successful people. Doing it even without feelings. That doesn't mean being numb. It means having guts. It is the ability to act without depending on your mental weather. It's the capacity to get up and do what's right, even when every cell in your body wants to give up. That's when you transform into a warrior, not someone just chasing easy emotions. Poor people always look for the shortest, most comfortable, least painful way out. But the rich choose the right path, even when it's hard. They understand. Today's ease is tomorrow's bill to pay. Meanwhile, today's discomfort, discipline, and commitment are the bill for tomorrow's freedom, and they choose to pay in advance. You might see the rich getting up early, exercising, reading books, writing down goals, working with focus. But what you don't see is there are thousands of mornings when they didn't want to do any of it. They get tired, stressed, bored too, but they still do it because they don't build their lives on moods. They build on commitment. The difference between ordinary people and successful people is not talent. It's that they can force themselves to do what's necessary, no matter how they feel. Once you master this, you're no longer a victim of emotions. You become the one who controls emotions. And that's the turning point for anyone who truly wants to be rich. There will be days when you don't want to do anything at all. Days when everything is against you. Days you wake up feeling empty. On those very days, what you choose to do will shape who you become. If you choose to rest, you're telling your subconscious that emotions matter more than goals. If you choose to act, you're programming your brain. I am someone I can rely on. The rich aren't better. They're more consistent. They don't work 10 times better than you. They just work more consistently than you for 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 years. And that very consistency creates an irreversible difference. Discipline is not a string of perfect days. It's a string of days when you come back, even if you fell yesterday. It's the ability to get back up and try again without anyone clapping. It's keeping promises to yourself, even when no one sees, no one knows, no one praises you. You don't have to win the whole battle in one day. You just have to not surrender. Don't stop working out because of one lazy day. Don't give up on learning because you were late on a deadline once. Don't quit just because you're not in the mood today. The most successful people in the world all have imperfect days. But they have something you don't have. That's non-negotiable comeback. If you can wake up early every day without anyone forcing you, work hard without anyone praising you, keep promises to yourself that no one sees, push through exhaustion without anyone cheering you on, then congratulations. You're already wealthier than 99% of people who live by their emotions. Wealth doesn't start with your account balance. It begins with being serious with yourself. No blaming, no making excuses, no waiting for anyone to pull you up. There's only one choice: keep going. Discipline is the journey where you set yourself apart from the crowd. You may lose friends because you don't stay out late anymore. Miss out on parties because you wake up early to work. Lose easy opportunities because you choose to do the hard thing. But in return, you gain something no one can take from you: character. And character is what gets you through life's storms. People lacking discipline often live a life of compensation. They do poorly today and promise to try twice as hard tomorrow. They eat carelessly and vow to exercise after Tet. They procrastinate and believe there will be a better time. But they don't understand. Life doesn't have a better time. Every time you procrastinate, you're teaching your brain that it's okay to be mediocre. True discipline isn't glamorous. There are no rounds of applause, no stage. It's those early mornings no one sees, those late nights no one praises, those decisions no one understands. But you do it because you know, if you're not tough on yourself, life will be tough on you. Successful people know how to create the rules of the game for themselves. They don't need reminders, don't need anyone checking up on them. They self-monitor, take responsibility. They don't need someone else's deadline. They set their own. And they keep their word, not out of fear, but out of respect for themselves. To be wealthy, you have to go through stages where nothing is guaranteed. No results, no one supporting you, no recognition. Only discipline and one belief: if I persist, results will come. And while others are giving up, you keep going. That's when you start to rise above. From today, tell yourself, I will do what needs to be done, even when I don't feel like it. Write down your goals, write down your daily actions, and commit to doing them, regardless of your mood. If you want to have what others don't, you have to do what others won't. If you want freedom, you must pay for it with discipline. No one lives comfortably their whole life and attains true freedom. Ordinary people need inspiration. Successful people only need one reason, and that reason is always bigger than fleeting feelings. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is power. Discipline is the bridge that leads you to wealth. And you just need to keep moving forward, step by step, every day, no matter how you feel. The habit of associating with the rich. Relationships determine your account. Who you are is less important than who you are with. Because the environment you live in, the people you connect with, and the conversations you hear every day silently reprogram your mind without you realizing it. If you want to know whether someone is rich or poor, you don't even need to look at their bank balance. Just look at their contacts list. You'll know right away. The poor usually don't pay attention to this. They think wealth is a personal matter. They don't understand that wealth is the result of the right relationships. You can't fly high if you keep holding on to people who drag you down. You can't think big if all you hear are small-minded words. You can't get rich if you spend every day at a table with someone who always says, "It's too hard, don't do it." Relationships don't just affect your mindset. They determine your thinking, expectations, actions, and even financial abilities. The poor often hold on to safe relationships. Old friends, former colleagues, drinking buddies, people who are easy to talk to and pleasant to be around. But that comfort drags them back to their safety zone. No one pushes them to grow up. No one asks tough questions. No one forces them to grow. And so they stay in place, even though they know deep inside that they could be so much more. The rich are different. They proactively choose their environment. They proactively choose friends. They proactively build their network. They're not looking for comfort. They're looking for challenge. They like to be around people who are better than them, faster than them, richer than them, because they know only then will they be forced to rise. They don't need someone to pat them on the back and say, "You're fine." They need someone to point directly at their weakness and say, "Do it again, do it better." I once had a student who didn't increase their income for 3 years. When I reviewed their daily habits, the first thing I asked was, "Who are the people closest to you?" They listed 5 names, all people constantly talking about lack of money, borrowing, unstable jobs, complaining about society. And I said, "You don't need to do anything yet, just temporarily distance yourself from them and start connecting with people who live on another level. You will change." 3 months later, they had a new job, their income doubled, and they began to plan their own business. Not because they suddenly had new skills, but because the new environment forced their brain to think differently. And when your mindset changes, your actions change. When your actions change, your results change too. The poor are often stubborn. They see relationships as fate, not as strategy. They make friends by chance, not by purpose. They don't dare to leave, afraid of being disliked, being spoken ill of, being alone. But they don't realize, every minute you maintain the wrong relationship, you are postponing a better version of yourself. The rich know that no one succeeds alone. They build a network of relationships as part of their assets. They invest time to connect, learn, help, and collaborate. They know the market always changes, but the right relationships open solid doors. The right mentor can shortcut 10 years of your life. The right friend can pull you out of the deepest pit. The right partner can help you build an empire. If you keep hanging out with lazy people, you'll find hard work strange. If you're with complainers, you'll think gratitude is silly. If you're with people who always avoid risk, you'll never dare to invest. And if you're always around those who only talk about price, you'll never understand value. You don't need to cut off any relationships, but you need to proactively create new ones on a higher level than where you are. Don't choose friends based on preference. Choose them based on your goals. You need to be near people who make you feel small, slow, lazy, lacking. People who wake you up. People who make you itch because you're living too superficially. If you want to be rich, step into the room with rich people. Not to beg, but to learn. Not to compare, but to observe. Not to admire, but to let yourself get hit by reality. To see that the rich do not live more comfortably. They just think differently, are more disciplined, and make bolder decisions. And you can learn all of that if you stand long enough in the right space. Remember, you can't change your life if you keep living in the same old network. You can't think differently or act differently if every day you keep hearing the same old phrases. Everything is really hard. I probably can't make it. Someone like me shouldn't dream too high. Those words aren't advice. They are a spiritual curse that is killing you day by day. I once met a woman, 35 years old, with 2 children, who had been a salaried worker for more than 10 years. One day she came to my class, her eyes lost and tired. I asked, "When was the last time you were around someone earning 10 times your income?" She was silent. She never had. From school to the workplace, from friends to neighbors, all were people living just enough, thinking just enough, and satisfied with what they call stability. I said, "So you've never truly had your ambition activated?" Not all poor people are lazy, but most poor people are never challenged in their thinking. They don't see a higher standard. They aren't immersed in an environment that makes them suffocate from the pressure to rise above. And that's why they never surpass their limits. You can't become a lion if you live among sheep every day. Even if you have strength, even if you have potential, even if you have ambition. But if every day you only hear weak bleating, see others afraid, see your friends back down, sooner or later, you will slow down too. You'll start doubting yourself, and then you'll end up bleeding like they do, instead of roaring like a leader. Don't naively think that hard work alone is enough. Yes, hard work is necessary, but if you work hard in the wrong environment, you're just digging deeper into the hole. If you work hard among negative people, you only become skilled within those limitations. You have to break out. You have to choose the right trench to fight in. And that starts with choosing the right people to be around. Someone once asked me, "So what if everyone around me is negative?" I said, "Then you have to be the first to step out. You don't need to speak up. Just start changing and let the results speak for themselves." Because when you change strongly enough, the people who don't fit will naturally disappear, and the people who deserve it will naturally come to you. Every close friend is a crossroads for your future. They will either lead you up or drag you backward. Choosing friends is not about emotion. It's a survival strategy. From today, take a look at the network around you. Who energizes you? Who makes you stagnate? Who starts conversations with new ideas? Who always begins with complaints? You don't need to cut them off. Just reduce contact with those who drag you down and increase your connection with those who lift you up. If you want your bank account to change, change your circle of relationships. Relationships determine environment. Environment determines mindset. Mindset determines action. And action will determine the bank account you have. Wealth doesn't start from a big opportunity. It starts from daring to step out of your old circles, to enter the space of those who are better. The habit of living with long-term goals. The rich don't work just for today. Most people live each day randomly. They wake up, work, eat, entertain themselves, and repeat. They run around like a hamster in a wheel, busy, tired, but getting nowhere. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're not capable. It's because they lack a destination. And if you don't know where you're going, every road only leads to getting lost. The rich don't work for today. They work for 10 years from now. Every action they take fits into a long-term roadmap. They're not swept away by instant emotions. They're not enticed by temporary ease. They make decisions based on the future they want, not based on how they feel right now. And that's why they're rich. not just in money, but also in control over their lives. The poor are the opposite. They live by reacting to bills, reacting to deadlines, reacting to drama, reacting to mood swings. They can't control the direction because they've never held the steering wheel of their own life. Each day to them is just, we'll see what happens. They have no plan, no clear goal, no vision beyond the next payday. And if they do, it's just a fleeting dream, not a goal that's written down, measured, tracked, and committed to the end. Wealth is not a coincidence. It's the result of years of living with long-term goals, living by strategy, living with discipline for your own future. It's the game of those who look far ahead, dare to pay the price, dare to say no to temporary comfort to build long-lasting greatness. While others spend every dollar trying to relieve short-term stress, the rich invest in themselves because they understand. Life doesn't reward the ones who want things now, but those who can endure for the long run. I once asked a young person, "Where will you be in 5 years?" They were silent. I asked again, "Who do you want to be in 10 years?" They forced a smile. And I knew, it wasn't because they're dumb. It's because they'd never been taught how to look ahead. School teaches you to study by chapter. Society teaches you to live month by month. Family teaches you to save day by day. But no one teaches us to look 10 years ahead, then act starting today. Successful people begin everything with a big goal. They don't plan for a week. They create a strategy for 10 years. They picture the ideal person they want to become and act towards that every day. They know what they're building, what step they're climbing, what they're trading off, and why it's worth it. For them, every hour is meaningful. Every action serves a bigger picture. Every failure doesn't make them give up, because they know it's just a stop along the long journey. The poor live just to get through this month. The rich live to create the next generation. One side lives out of fear, fear of lack, fear of falling behind, fear of not keeping up. One side lives for a mission, because they know they're not born just to survive. The poor ask, "How do I make it through?" The rich ask, "How do I live worthily?" And that's the difference that creates two worlds. When you have a big goal, you are no longer tempted by small things. When you have a long-term vision, you no longer waste time on short-term games. You don't need anyone to remind you to try, because you know exactly why you need to persist. Long-term goals help you say no to what's distracting the crowd, and yes to what sets you apart. It's like a compass guiding you through the confusing jungle. When everyone is panicking over news, volatility, the market, you stay firm because you know what's worth shedding blood for. The rich don't need immediate results. They need progress in the right direction. They don't need to celebrate every day. They need to know they're getting closer to greatness. They build their careers like architects building a 100-story building. The foundation always takes the most time, is the hardest work, and the hardest to see. But once it's finished, the whole building rises up, unstoppable. On the other hand, people without long-term goals build their lives like pitching a tent in a storm. It looks quick, but can't withstand the winds and waves. I once met a friend from university. He was very talented, energetic, and creative. But after 10 years, when I met him again, he was still in the same position, doing the same job, and complaining about the same thing. I feel like my life is going nowhere. I asked, "Do you have any goals?" He said, "No. I just hope I have enough each month to pay off my debts, and that's enough." That's it. An intelligent person with no goal will always stay in place, not because of a lack of ability, but because of a lack of destination. If you truly want to be wealthy, you have to learn to live long-term. You have to know how to delay gratification. You have to know how to endure discomfort now, so that later you can live the way you want. You have to hold back on spending, showing off, resting, to invest in things that will help you break through in the future. And most importantly, you have to write down clear goals, attach a deadline, an action plan, and commit to seeing it through to the end. That's not something you write down in a notebook and then forget. It's something you see every morning, act on every noon, and review every night. No one drifts aimlessly and becomes rich. You can't reach the top if you let emotional waves sweep you away. You need a compass, a roadmap, a clear destination, so that even if you have nothing today, you still know exactly why you're making an effort. So that even if others doubt you, you remain undeterred, because you're living for something greater than what others say. Choose a goal that forces you to grow, not the easy one, not the quick one, but the one that, when achieved, requires you to become 10 times a better version of yourself. Only goals like that are valuable, because they don't just change results, they change you as a person. I always tell my students, if your goal doesn't make you feel pressured every morning, then it's not a goal. It's just something you wish would happen. And the rich do not live on dreams. They live by plans, carried out every day with blood, sweat, and steely commitment. There are no shortcuts, no miracles, only persistence. From today, don't just live to get through tomorrow. Live to win the next 10 years. Write down the biggest goal of your life. Visualize it clearly. Break it down into milestones. Then act as if there's no way back. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know that each day you're heading in the right direction. Don't let a day go by meaninglessly. Don't live without knowing what you're building. And never trade a 10-year dream for just 10 minutes of comfort. The rich don't live for today. They live for what they're most proud of. I have lived with a goal, and I did not give up. You have just completed a journey that is far from short, not because of word count, but because of depth of thought. The previous 7 sections are not just wealth-building tips. They are 7 pillars of thought that if you truly live by them, you will no longer be the same person. You will no longer chase money. You will attract money. You will no longer waste time. You will design every living minute. You will no longer spend money to feel better. You will use money to become better. You will no longer fear making decisions. You will dare to act, even with doubts. You will no longer wait for feelings. You will act out of commitment. You will no longer choose friends unconsciously. You will choose those who help you progress. You will no longer live short-term. You will live for your long-term vision. These 7 habits don't come from luck. They don't come from genetics. They don't come from a moment of enlightenment. They come from conscious daily practice. You will stumble. You will forget. You will want to give up. But remember, wealth is not for the perfect. It's for those who do not give up. You don't need to start big. You just need to start right. You don't need to have a lot. You just need to know what to do with what you have. You don't need others to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself long enough. Go back to each part if needed. Rewrite, take notes, stick them on your wall, read every morning. Because every word in this series, if lived to the fullest, will change your entire financial destiny, life, and self. I wish for you not just to be wealthy, but to be wealthy with vision, meaning, and reason. Follow the Bizmind Mastery channel, the only place where you are guided to break through every day, building a career, assets, and a mindset as strong as steel. Each week I will take you a step further, see further, and live more powerfully than any ordinary person ever dared to dream. Hit follow, and your breakthrough journey starts here. I am here to help you not just survive, but live up to the stature you deserve.